It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We have a special guest joining us, the man, the myth, the one and only, the man who covers the Detroit Pistons for Woodward Sports, Detroit Kool-Aid, a.k.a. Brandon Dent.
Yes,
welcome to the show, brother. How you doing first?
I'm doing good, man. As
doing
always,
good?
I appreciate being on the show. Appreciate you guys, man. This is a rocking show.
No, I love it, man. You're always welcome here. You know that. The other part I want to ask you, too, is before we get into the conversation itself, because you know why you're here. I mean, I've been texting you. We kind of talked about it already.
Yep.
But your takeaways yesterday, Monty speaking to the media a little bit, had some interesting things to say. Anything that stuck out to you significantly? And if it is the Jaden Ivey stuff, then we can get right into it. But anything that you took away from it?
Listen, that's probably the most interesting thing to talk about. I have no problem with jumping right into that. I do want to preface, like with Monty Williams coming in, the one thing that we knew was, and we covered this on Woodward Pistons podcast as well, is that he checks all egos at the door. He wants to reset the table, and he's been saying this all along. Everyone's going to have to prove that they belong in a certain position, as well as the fits that he wanted to be able to bring to this team. So the Ivy stuff, man, I definitely think that that's where we should just jump off.
So, at least for me, with the whole Ivy thing, and I had to kind of think about it last night because part of me initially was like, why the hell would Ivy come off your bench? He's the top 5 pick. He was the best player taken at that position at 5. And when you look at this team and what they need now, or what do you expect them to be, you expect this team to be dynamic. And you expect this team to, at least their foundational pieces, Ivy, Cade, and Asar, Jalen Duren. That's the 4 that I look at and think, okay, those dudes have high ceilings. 4. Yeah, your core 4. Isaiah Stewart, I think, will be solid, and he's going to be a damn good player, but he's more going to be a role player for you. You're starting 4. He'll provide a lot of the other things. But I'm talking high ceilings, Cade, Ivy, Asar, and Duren. But when I actually sat there and thought about it, and I really thought about it, I told myself, well, Jeff, you think about it. Ivy's going to play as many minutes as he would starting. He's going to close games. The only difference is he just won't be starting. And the question I asked myself, and me and Michael Gentry were going back and forth about this because he had the audacity to him and his Red Wings. And me and Michael Gentry have a little beef here. It's friendly, but he comes at the Pistons. And I don't even come at the Red Wings, so I don't even know what this is about. It's one way, I'm catching strays all the time. And one thing he said is, Jeff, he's not even good enough to start. And I said, that's not even the case, though. And I want you to break it down for me. How did you interpret it when you found out that there's a chance, when Monty said if Alec wasn't ready to go, then Bogey would have got the start? What was your takeaway from Ivy being on the bench? Does he stink? Is he not? And I'm just saying this just because that's what I've been hearing. Either stinks, he's a bad fit. Break it down for me, Kool-Aid. What's going on?
I will start here. I personally want Ivy to start. I think that he's capable. I think that he's earned that distinction. But earning that distinction and that capability doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best fit for the team. I'm not even talking about the best fit for the lineup. I keep seeing people throw things out there like, Ivy doesn't fit necessarily in that starting lineup. I think he can shoot the 3 pretty well, and his catch and shoot 3-point percentage was pretty good. But he's not necessarily the same type of player as a Bojan. The other thing to preface here is that Monty Williams hasn't decided what the lineups would be. He just has it right now. He said that when we get closer to the start of the season, he's going to start to inform people exactly what those lineups are. It could be a situation to where they believe, if they get to tinker with this lineup in preseason, where they believe maybe Stu is best off the bench. We don't know that yet.
Right.
And so we're still trying to figure this stuff out. But one of the prime things that I thought about immediately, and we talked about this when we thought our core 4 was Sadiq Bey and these guys, and we said eventually one of these guys are going to potentially have to come off the bench for this team to get to the next place, to get to that next level. When I think about the OKC Thunder, they're one of the most greatest tragedies in all of sports because they couldn't find a way to have their homegrown talent fit in a manner that would allow them to stay together and actually win together. And instead, they had to go out there and trade one of their biggest pieces that became one of the most foundational pieces in an era of NBA basketball.
It's actually a great point.
Ever.
Because he was a top 5 pick, wasn't he, Harden?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
top 5
remember.
pick, and he was coming off the bench.
I believe he was. And they just couldn't work. And when Monty Williams, when I was going through the documentary that the Suns put out called The Breakthrough, the one thing that all the players continue to say is that he breaks egos. We're here for the team. We're here to win. This squad wants to win. We've seen the Pistons go out there and buy playoff runs. SVG bought one. Dwayne Casey bought one. As much as we want to lament on these guys, right? But Monty Williams is coming here with a winning pedigree, with coaches that leave his tree and they win. with coaches that on his staff, they help players become better. We saw players come off the scrap heap and become better, and we saw good players become even greater. We talked last time about Devin Booker becoming somebody who his three-point percentage went up. His free throw attempts went up. So much better in his game, even though he was already a good player.
His defense
got better.
His defense was crazy compared to what it was.
That's what I'm talking about. So it's like, if this mad scientist named Monty Williams is cooking, let that man cook, man.
Yeah.
Let him cook.
And that's my takeaway, too. And he said it. I mean, you got to listen. And Rod always, when he said this, it stuck with me ever since he told me and you this. When they speak, you listen.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what they're thinking. They'll tell you. And Monty said it. We want more experience in the starting lineup. You know, and I get it. I mean, this is a team that, you know, for us at least, ideally you get your starting five. We expect what is going to be Cade, Ivey, Asar, Stu, and Duren. But that's an entire lineup full of a rookie, a man who hasn't played a ton of games, but who's going to be a superstar. Ivey in his second year, and then Isaiah Stewart's probably, he's the oldest one in that lineup. Him and, of course, Cade being the second. But regardless, I get it. You get more experience in the starting lineup. It makes sense. Doesn't mean that Alec Burks is levels above Ivey.
No.
I think it's just, I mean, that's what some people's takeaway was. So whatever helps this team thrive, man. You want to see a postseason appearance, and I don't really give a damn how it happens. So eventually, maybe Ivey does, end up in the starting lineup. I didn't want to overreact to it. I know a lot of people. Pistons Twitter was on fire yesterday in the last couple of days. I didn't even want to chime into it because it's only preseason. So I'm just letting Monty cook. You got to trust him. And I think he's a damn good head coach, so I'm willing to do that.
And just one other point on that. What did Ivey do? Ivey is a person that responds on the floor. We saw Ivey as somebody who was kind of highly emotional. He wears emotions on his sleeves last year a lot of times. And this season, just speaking to him at Holworth Park, I got a little bit of one-on-one time with him and getting to understand and learn him a little bit better. And then at the training camps, we were able to talk to them as well. We got to ask him a couple questions. He's in one offseason, seems like he's gone from the guy who kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve to a guy who's more mature, a guy who understands he's here to handle business. And I think that is very, very important. And I believe more than anything that there are gauntlets being thrown down. Get to your next level. Get to your next level, Ivey. I believe Monty is challenging this young core to become even better. That's what I believe this is about.
Yeah, and by the way, people, and I want to address this because Sam's got something for you too, and I want to hang out with you for a little bit here if you got time. Mark Royal says Jeff said Casey was a great coach too. And then MP says Jeff was a Casey Knobber. By the way, I never said this man was an elite coach. I just thought last year everybody loved to just say, you know what, it's all Dwayne's fault, and I wasn't with that. Like, that's the only thing I didn't agree with. Monty's a better coach than Dwayne Casey. Like, I believe that. Now, with this team, you're at a point, and for Easy, I love Easy because he was big on the whole fit thing, and he's kind of trying to take a victory lap. I don't know if it's a victory lap yet. If Ivey gets traded, Easy can do whatever he wants to do. He can celebrate. But if he's starting midway through the season, there's not really a victory lap. Like, they're going to play together. I think what hurt Cade and Ivey is the fact that they each had their own season with the being the man, because Cade was hurt last year and then Ivey wasn't there Cade's first year. So both those guys know is being the man. And now you got a year now together. It's if Cade didn't get hurt last year and those guys played together, I think they'd be starting this year together. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But, of course, you didn't get to see that. So it is what it is. But, Sam, what do you got?
All right, Kool-Aid. So I think every single person in this room would unanimously agree that Jaden Ivey had a very, very successful rookie season overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I mean, he lived up to being the number five pick. For me, I don't like the idea of him coming off the bench just on principle. I would like to see him starting because I think with Cade and Ivey, it was supposed to be the backcourt of the future. And there were some people, even at this network, some people I heard that Jaden Ivey would maybe even be the team's number one at some point. So is it fair for me to at least have some questions moving forward, especially since I don't think the Pistons as of now should get the benefit of the doubt because they've been a bad franchise over the last decade or so. They're getting better, but you have to question some of the things that they do. Is that fair?
I think you can question some things. That's always fair. Nobody's ever perfect. But this notion with Ivey starting, I don't think that's something that's just kind of dead in the water. I believe that he still has an opportunity to.
Yeah, people acting like he'll never start. Like that's a little overreaction. Talk about overreaction. That's bad.
Yeah. Because trust me, I think all of us wanted to see him start. We all believe that he is capable of starting, just like I thought Manu Ginobili was capable of starting. And Monty Williams, I forget the coaching tree he comes from, but I know that he has had some commonplace with Greg Popovich. He's trying to put together a winner in Detroit. I'm tired of seeing these Detroit teams that just pop up and then get swept. And we say, oh, they had no depth. I'm tired of seeing these teams just pop up and just buy a team. This was all about a team of longevity, a team that could check their egos at the door. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if there's some aspect of maturation that needs to go on with these young players, and Monty Williams knows how to push their buttons, because the first thing he said to us was, the first question I ever asked him was about this whole pushing and stressing thing that he was talking about. Yeah, I'm pushing, I'm stressing them, I'm putting them in positions to see how they respond. He said that. People don't want to listen to Monty. If Ivy comes off the bench underneath a Monty Williams system and he does it the way I see him doing it now, by being mature, by not letting it affect his game, this Pistons team is going to be greater than if he didn't do this, in my opinion. We have an Asar Thompson right now who is proving to be a little bit better than any of us thought. I heard everybody talking about, why are we taking a guy who's only played high school talent? Jeff, we sat down and we continued to talk about, this guy has a little bit more as we continue to pour through the tape and look at the fact that he's strong, he's looking to play for his team,
right.
He can rebound, he can steal, he can get blocks and blah, blah, blah. I think that this has more to do about Asar Thompson.
Yeah, his playmaking abilities too. Yeah,
that's
100%.
what I'm saying. And Bojan Bogdanovic, I have said this for the better part of a year. Go back and check all of the tapes, man. He's instant oatmeal, bro. You add water and stir. You need that.
That's a
You
bar.
need that, bro. Like, you throw him the ball, it's going in the basket.
Yeah.
You have, and if you're going to do that, you gotta have people around him defensively. Like, do you know how much offense the Pistons are going to be able to turn on without even running sets, just because you got a defensive unit of Cade, Asar, Stu, and Duren? Mm-hmm. And then Ivy came off the bench in that first game, electric against bench players, and he dominated. I don't have a problem with what's going on right now. I want to kind of see this thing through, and if it shakes out that Ivy's coming off the bench, I still believe he's going to be a plus player. I still believe it's going to pay dividends for the Pistons. I just do.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I wanted to have you on because I wanted to just kind of get you're the voice of reason, I think, for most Pistons fans. And I know the Pistons pay close attention to media here. And I think the important thing to take away is who gives a damn what happens. I think what matters is winning basketball games. And that's what Monty's goal in Detroit here is for the Pistons to see the postseason again. So this is preseason. I'm not going to sit here and assume, since he's not starting in preseason, Ivy will never start with Cade. End of story, shut the book, move on. No. I mean, I'm willing to be patient here and trust the man. So we'll see how that progresses. Appreciate you, Brandon. You can check out Brandon. Plug your socials and everything.
Hey,
where can people find you?
Like I said, as always, Woodward Sports, man. The articles are going up there, woodwardsports.com. Tap into all the social media, but at Detroit Kool-Aid and Woodward Pistons, anywhere you can get it.
There you go,
Definitely.
Brandon Dett. Appreciate you, man. We'll go to break here before Sam. Could you tell the people about Dispo?
Of course, I got to thank Mason.